Nezuko has been one of the fan favorites since the beginning of the show. Even though Nezuko is not the protagonist of the series, she has definitely been the catalyst in the development of the anime. After all, Tanjiro began his Demon Slayer journey in order to find a cure for his sister. But have you ever wondered how different this story would have been if Nezuko could not restrain herself and started eating humans? What if Muzan's influence was so strong that Nezuko could not fight back? Well, we have, and we think that the story could pan out in 3 different ways, all depending on what Giyu does in episode 1. You see, in the first case scenario, we will assume that Giyu does not find the Kamado siblings at all, and hence Tanjiro is left alone to deal with his sister that has just been turned into a demon. We know that in the original story, Nezuko was still somewhat aware of what was going on, and hence why she was crying while attacking Tanjiro, and why she reached to protect her brother from Tomioka. But since in this timeline Muzan's influence is so strong, Nezuko does none of those things and keeps viciously attacking her brother. Tanjiro, being the kind-hearted brother he is, and having just lost all the rest of his family, he tries to make Nezuko realize what is going on. Tanjiro refuses to give up on his sister and keeps struggling to remind her that he is her brother, but without success. Muzan's influence is so strong that Nezuko ends up killing and eating her brother. I know, this sounds terrible, but hear me out. The story becomes very interesting from here onwards. After eating Tanjiro, Nezuko goes on to eat many more people and keeps becoming stronger and stronger. Nezuko becomes a part of the 12 Kizuki in no time. Given that she fought Daki and quite almost literally wiped the floor with her, then we would argue that Nezuko, within a few months of eating humans, she would be at least lower moon level, if not upper moon level. Yeah, we admit that Gyutaro was the real upper moon 6 and not Daki, but Daki was at least lower moon level when Nezuko fought her. Nezuko would not become part of the upper moons immediately because that takes multiple years, and that would require her defeating another upper moon. But within a few months, she would surely be stronger than the rest of the lower moons, and hence be at least lower moon 1. With Nezuko eating humans, all of her abilities would skyrocket. Her regeneration ability was already on par with that of the upper moons, and all that while not even eating people. In this timeline, however, Nezuko has the best regeneration among the 12 demon moons, upper moons included. Her blood demon art is way more destructive. Her flames are able to turn whatever they touch into ashes, and she is even able to set bomb traps throughout the place with her blood that Nezuko can willingly cause to explode. Not to mention that her physical strength, speed, and even shape-shifting ability are improved greatly as well. Nezuko could even significantly grow in size this way. So in simpler words, yeah, Nezuko would be way too overpowered and would be on demon time, both literally and metaphorically. But you see, the story would also be greatly impacted by Tanjiro's death as well. In Tanjiro's absence, no one kills the hand demon during the final exams. When it comes to Zenitsu and Inosuke, they do meet during their first mission against Kyogai and the hand demon. Even with extreme difficulty due to Tanjiro's absence, they still managed to defeat this demon duo. But if you thought both of them would keep this up for much longer without Tanjiro and Nezuko, well, think again. When faced with Rui's spider family, Zenitsu was lucky enough to be put up against Rui's brother, and hence makes it out alive until help arrives. But Inosuke, on the other hand, is not so lucky, as he is put up against both Rui and Rui's father. Inosuke unfortunately stands no chance at this stage, and hence dies within a few seconds. He was both outnumbered and outmatched, and hence could not hold on until the help of Tomioka and Shinobu arrived. On Muzan's side, when he kills the lower moons, he spares both Enmu, that played it clever against Muzan, but also Nezuko. You see, he allows Nezuko to live because she showcased extreme progress within a very short period of time. So Muzan acknowledges that she can become a great asset in the near future. Not only that, but Muzan even gives Nezuko additional blood, just like he did with Enmu. Nezuko is now even stronger. The worst part for Muzan is that even if he were to eat Nezuko, just like he did with the other lower moons, he would have conquered the sun without even knowing it, as Nezuko has always been immune to sunlight. Fast forward to the Mugen Train arc. Originally, Rengoku was meant to go alone in this mission. You see, Hashiras are almost never sent on missions 2 at a time. There are only 9 Hashiras, and each is responsible for their own area to protect. So that would be impossible for them to cover all the necessary areas if they went on missions 2 at a time, especially on this mission that, from what they knew, this could even be the work of a lower class demon. Hence, during Rengoku's mission on Mugen Train, only Zenitsu accompanies him. Rengoku manages to defeat Enmu, but in doing so, many people die due to the absence of Nezuko, Tanjiro, and Inosuke that helped in protecting the people within the train. If you thought that was bad, wait to hear for what's about to follow. In the Entertainment District arc, Tengen is again sent only with Zenitsu for the same reason that Rengoku was accompanied only by Zenitsu. Against Gyutaro and Daki, although while in sleep mode, Zenitsu can hold his own weight against Daki, Tengen cannot defeat Gyutaro on his own. When Zenitsu is winning against Daki, Gyutaro gets frustrated and attacks Zenitsu in order to protect his sister. Tengen loses Gyutaro for a moment, and Zenitsu ends up dead. Tengen Tengen is now fighting both Daki and Gyutaro. The fight of him against Gyutaro 1v1 was already very difficult. Now with Daki on Gyutaro's side as well, and by having to behead both of them at the same time in order to win, Tengen, along with his 3 wives, all unfortunately die. Daki and Gyutaro killed many Hashiras in the past, so Tengen on his own was unfortunately outmatched. During the Swordsmith Village arc, Muichiro survives his encounter with Gyoko and defeats him all the same. Genya, on the other hand, ends up dead within a few seconds without Tanjiro and Nezuko. But what would happen when Mitsuri arrives to fight Hantengu? Well, unfortunately, Mitsuri would end up dead as well. You see, the sheer number of the Hantengu clones, plus the way for him to die, almost makes it impossible for Mitsuri to defeat him alone. The final arc does not happen the way we know it, as in the original story, Muzan attacks the Demon Slayers in order to retrieve and eat Nezuko that is immune to sunlight, hence allowing him to conquer the sun. Since this does not apply in our case, Muzan does not have to do something so reckless. What happens instead is that the remaining Demon Slayers and Hashiras slowly die one after another. Nezuko, in a few decades, manages to become a badass and ruthless demon that even challenges for a place in the upper moons. Muzan could go hundreds of years without knowing that Nezuko is immune to sunlight, and can even never find out at all. Some people might argue that if Nezuko was immune to sunlight, then Muzan would know. Well, that would be true if Nezuko actually stepped in the sun and did not disintegrate. Since Nezuko is that strong now, it could take hundreds of years for someone strong enough to appear, and hence force Nezuko to be exposed to sunlight. If you found this version of the story very sad for your taste, hold your horses, because the second way the story could play out is somewhat better. You see, all the way back to episode 1, if we assume that Gyu actually arrived in the Kamado residence and witnessed Nezuko's attack on Tanjiro, then the story would develop in a much different way. For this timeline, we will assume that after Tomioka attacks Nezuko, she somehow manages to escape. The only way this would be possible is through a weather phenomena, like a snowstorm that made Gyu lose sight of Nezuko, and hence allowing her to escape before Tomioka can kill her. Otherwise, without a proper distraction, as a fully fledged Hashira, Tomioka could easily catch up to Nezuko, that was very weak at this point. After all, Tomioka has both the strength and experience, while Nezuko had just become a demon, and was also very hungry and weak from her transformation. When Nezuko escapes, Tanjiro was left lying in the snow, shocked of what had just happened. His entire family was killed, and the only survivor was turned into a demon. Tomioka explains to Tanjiro what had just happened, and also tells him that it's his job as a demon slayer to kill Nezuko if he ever sees her again. Tomioka proceeds to tell Tanjiro to forget about her, as she is no longer the same person Tanjiro knew. Tanjiro refuses, and instead decides to become a demon slayer in order to find his sister and also try to cure her. Just like in case 1, Nezuko becomes much stronger by eating humans and becomes a lower moon in no time. Tanjiro, on the other hand, goes through the same missions he did, and even though some of his battles are a little more difficult without Nezuko's help, he makes it all the way to Mugen Train Arc without anyone dying. In Mugen Train Arc, however, Rengoku again fails his mission to protect everyone on board of the Mugen Train. That's because Nezuko, that played a vital role in protecting many people, is not present in this timeline. As a result, some people die before Tanjiro defeats Enmu. Even worse than that, Rengoku still dies at the hands of Akaza, just like in the original story. Fast forward to the Entertainment District arc. The Demon Slayers still managed to take a difficult win over Gyutaro and Daki, even without Nezuko. However, the main difference this time around is that Tengen dies in the end. That's because without Nezuko's flames that offered a healing aid to Tengen in the original story, his injuries would be too severe for him to escape death. Plus, Tengen would probably receive even more injuries without Nezuko's help throughout the fight. But wait, because the next change is the most exciting one so far! In the Swordsmith Village arc, the demon that is sent alongside Gyoko, who found the village, is Nezuko, and not Hantengu. Muzan finds it entertaining to send Nezuko to kill her own brother. Plus, he wants to reward her for the strength and progress that she showcased so far. Muichiro would still defeat Gyoko just like in the original story, but Tanjiro and Genya, who are left to fight Nezuko, face some different problems. Tanjiro, with tears in his eyes, encounters his sister, that now resembles a demon much more than she did in episode 1. Nezuko is now a fully fledged demon moon. Although she may not be an official upper moon, her strength is for sure comparable to that of an upper moon. Tanjiro tries for one more time to convince Nezuko to have a change of heart, but Nezuko mocks him. Muzan's influence is very strong. Genya says enough and attacks Nezuko with intent to kill. Tanjiro, on the other hand, screams for Genya to not kill her. Genya does not listen and starts firing at Nezuko with his gun. However, as we stated before, Nezuko's regeneration is so advanced that she manages to regenerate every injury from Genya's gun in an instant. Tanjiro tries to immobilize Nezuko without killing her, which is pretty much impossible with Nezuko's strength at this point. At that moment, Mitsuri joins the fight, and even though she feels bad for Tanjiro, she attacks Nezuko with all her strength and does not hold back. The fight continues until morning is almost there. You see, at this point, Nezuko does not know she is immune to sunlight, so she decides to escape before the sun rises. and that's what she does. Once the fight is over, Genya starts yelling at Tanjiro for getting in their way and not going all out because he was fighting against his sister. He screams at Tanjiro and tells him that he is not the first that has had to go through this, as his brother Sanemi had to kill their own mother in order to protect him. Genya proceeds to tell Tanjiro to quit the Demon Slayers because he does not have what it takes to kill the demons he has to kill. Tanjiro understands what Genya says and decides to leave the Demon Slayer Corps. In the original story, after the Swordsmith Village arc, we got the mini arc of the Hashira training and then the final battle arc. In this timeline, however, the Hashira training arc is replaced by another arc. You see, Tanjiro goes on a mission alone to find his sister, even if it means he will die when he fights her. After some time, Tanjiro, with the help of his sharp nose, eventually stumbles upon his sister and engages in battle with her. After a few slashes, and while Tanjiro is losing because he does not want to kill his sister, Tomioka and Shinobu appear. As soon as the two Hashiras find Nezuko, they send a raven to the other Hashiras for backup. In this timeline, Tomioka feels responsible for allowing Nezuko to escape in episode 1, and hence has also been searching for Nezuko from the start. Nezuko is now faced against Tanjiro, Tomioka, and Shinobu, and to be honest, Nezuko could not have gotten a worse matchup. Tomioka's water breathing is the best counter to Nezuko's flames, while Shinobu's poison halts Nezuko's regeneration abilities. Tomioka and Shinobu make the perfect counter for Nezuko's abilities. This time around, the two Hashiras manage to hold Nezuko occupied all the way until morning arrives. Tanjiro screams and begs the two Hashiras to let her go as the sun will kill her. The two Hashiras do not listen and keep fighting her and do not let her escape. The morning arrives and Nezuko is exposed to the sun. However, Nezuko, to everyone's surprise, does not disintegrate into dust. She is not affected at all by the sunlight. Muzan, being connected to all the demons he controls, finds out immediately. Tomioka, Shinobu, Tanjiro, and Nezuko understand what is about to happen with Muzan, that finally found a demon immune to sunlight. Shinobu and Giyu attack Nezuko and are about to behead her in order to stop Muzan from eating her, but Tanjiro intervenes. The fight continues, but this time around, Tanjiro joins Nezuko's side and tries to convince the two Hashiras that there is no time for this, as Muzan is on his way. Muzan, along with all the Upper Moons, are on their way to find Nezuko, but so are some other Hashiras that received the message from the Raven Tomioka and Shinobu had sent only a few moments ago. Depending on the position of each Upper Moon and Muzan, we will assume that some of the Upper Moons and some Hashiras arrive first and join the battle. The 2v2 that was just happening soon becomes an all-out war, with every important character, both demons and demon slayers, being part of the battle. In this timeline, Nezuko, instead of being at the infirmary getting treated in order to turn back into a human, she actively fights against Muzan and the other Upper Moons. When the demon slayers see that Nezuko is on their side in order to fight Muzan, they stop attacking her and are focused on Muzan and the rest of the Upper Moons, meaning that in this timeline, the only difference with the final arc is that Nezuko is now both stronger as well as actively fighting against Muzan. It's like the demon slayers have an additional character that is at least as strong as one or two Hashiras on their side, now that Nezuko fights alongside them. Hence, just like in the original story, they eventually win, but surely with many casualties as well. We will assume that Nezuko dies in the end. Her death could be while she protects her brother. This could be a poetic end that would also serve as a redemption to Nezuko that took the lives of many people to get to the point she is now. But in the end, everything she did helped the demon slayers to defeat Kibutsuji Muzan once and for all and save countless lives in the future. Every mistake Nezuko did and every human she ate helped her become stronger and hence helped in defeating Muzan. If you enjoyed this alternate timeline, then you'll be thrilled with the third way our story could develop if Nezuko started eating humans. The third way is by having Tomioka kill Nezuko on the spot during the first episode. But more of that in this video, where we analyze exactly how the story would develop in this alternate universe. Go on, check it out!